Hey guys, Larry here with Creaky Chair Models. Today's video is about setting up a Raspberry Pi 4 or 3, I've done it with a 3B also, to run Jmri. This thing seems to work pretty amazingly well. The video is about 20 minutes long, but I think if you stop it, you can get through the process pretty well. Let me know how it works for you. Thanks for spending time with me. Okay guys, first thing you want to do is go to the twisteros.com website and click on the downloads link. From here you'll want to download the current release of TwisterOS. Just as a reminder, TwisterOS has a Windows 10-like interface and an Apple iOS interface that we will work through toggling between the two. So once you click the download, you will see down here in the bottom left, TwisterOS v1-5 image downloading. So that's currently in process. It's going to take a while, so I will stop the video for a bit and come back with the next steps. Okay guys, in real time, it's taken about 25 minutes, not due to a slow internet connection on my part, but probably just due to the servers there. It's about a 3.5 gig download, so it does take a bit. So the first thing you got to do is get a microSD card, about 32 gigs, and then you will put it into a USB adapter or a USB reader of some sort. I keep a bunch of different files, and you'll see them here on the right side where my mouse is. I have Balena Etcher. I also have Win32 Disk Imager. And I also have ISO to USB. All of these will take the image file and put it onto that microSD card so that you can boot the Raspberry Pi. For this demonstration, we'll use Balena Etcher. I'll go ahead and launch it. You'll see it come up here in a minute. Not sure why it didn't. There it is. Okay, so the first thing you do is you're going to say flash from a file. That's going to open a dialog, and it will show up in local program files. Remember, your image will be wherever you set your downloads. So in my case, it's in the downloads file. It's the TwisterOS right there. You do open. All right, the next thing you do is select the target, and you'll see I have a 32 gig in here. I would recommend the larger the chip, the better. It won't take any longer to image it. But if you're going to use this thing for any kind of storage, you need a bigger chip than say an 8 gig, which it'll run on. The one I use regularly, I actually have a 256 gig chip in it. You can also put an external drive on the USB ports if you need additional storage later. So you click continue, and the next thing you do is flash. When you click flash, it's going to come up and say, do you want to allow this? And you say yes, and you'll see starting. This is going to take a while, so again, I will stop this portion of the video. If you notice, the screen here says about 24 minutes. That's going to vary. I'm in a USB 3.0, so a 32 gig typically takes around 30 minutes. This one will probably take less time than that because I am using USB 3.0. Hey guys, once the image has been put onto the microSD, Balena Etcher goes through a validation process to make sure the image is correct. This takes about 8 minutes. It can take a little longer if the drive is bigger. But I just wanted to give you a heads up so that it didn't surprise you that it takes another bit of time. So be patient. It's worth the effort in the end. I'm trying to keep the video short, so I will quit prattling on right now. Okay guys, we're here at the initial screens that you'll see when the system boots up. I've gone ahead and done one thing in advance, and it's VNC, but I'm going to show you how to do that. I've connected my hardwired Ethernet cable to the network port on my Raspberry Pi. I've connected a wireless keyboard and mouse and an HDMI output to a monitor. The first thing you're going to want to do is this will appear as an up and down arrow. That's your network connection. You can see that I have a wired connection on here. If you don't have anything, it'll say no connection. Down here, available, it shows all of the local Wi-Fis. If you have a hidden Wi-Fi, which some people do, you can connect that way and enter all of it in. So it's all available. You even have a VPN option. So first thing you should do is connect to the internet. The next thing you should do is come over here to the menu, go to Settings, and come down to Raspberry Pi Configuration. You're going to want to change the password. You just click Change Password, and I'm going to put in my Raspberry Pi password. The default is Raspberry, in all lowercase, so it's no big deal if you want to maintain that. That password's changed. Then you come over here to the interfaces, and you're going to enable VNC. You can see in mine it's already done. If you use an I2C or SPI devices, you can do that. Camera is the internal port for the Raspberry Pi, which is a Raspberry Pi camera. So you can't just plug in a USB and think it's going to work. It's a lot more complicated than that. So there you go. So you just click OK, and you're done with that portion of it. And we'll move on to the next section in a minute. Okay, we're back here at the desktop for our next step. The next thing I like to do is I like to change the theme. This is the default theme, and I'll show you. You click on Theme Twister, and then it comes up and says want a different look and asks you, and you just hit enter. Raspbian X is a Windows 10 type, as you'll see. iRaspbian looks a little bit like iOS. Raspbian 95 is Windows 95. The default is Twister OS that you're currently seeing. Nighthawk is also nice. There's a dark version of iOS, and there's one, believe it or not, for Windows XP. So you can choose what you like. In my case, I like the Raspbian X. You'll see the background change here in just a minute. And then, once again, we're going to have to reboot the PC. Alright, so we're here at our new desktop, and we'll go ahead and do the last piece of housekeeping, but it's probably the second most important compared to the password. And that is, we're going to check for an update to the Raspbian system. I can tell you, after running this thing for quite a while, there are updates all the time. So it's important to probably do this every week or two. It's done quite simply by opening the terminal window and typing sudo sudo apt update. What that does, and it'll take a minute to do it, so I'll talk about it a little bit, but it's going out to the web and it's looking for the latest versions of all the software that's on this system. For failures and things like that, and the programmers change on it. It's Linux. There's no automatic system with Raspbian yet. There is with several other Linux systems, but this one does not. So you have to go through this process. You can skip this update if you choose to, but if there's no updates, it'll come back and tell you. In this case, it said 16 packages can be upgraded. So the upgrade is sudo sudo apt full -upgrade. So this thing comes down, and since it did all that work, it knows what's out there, and it's telling you a little more disk space is going to be used, and you just do yes, and away it goes. I'm going to pause the recording, and come back and show you that there's a little progress bar that comes on. Don't be fooled if it's not moving. In these larger upgrades, it can sit there for 5 or 6 minutes. Don't think it's locked up. It probably is not. Just be patient. Okay guys, the progress bar is moving and you can see there are files, many spewing out. This will take some time, so I'm going to go back into pause mode. Okay guys, it's finished doing what it's doing and it's back at the prompt. The next thing we need to do is reboot the machine. No, we've been through a lot of reboots, but this is initially, and it's no worse than Windows does by itself. So to reboot, you just type reboot. And away it goes. When the screen goes black, I'll pause the recording. Okay guys, the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and configure this thing for Jmri. We'll start by downloading it. And you go to Chrome. You can do it here. This is the media edition for playing YouTube, etc., but it works fine for everything else. You'll notice it comes up at the default screen with Twister OS, the one I used previously in the video. So we're going to go to jmri.org and we're going to do 2 different downloads. It'll take a second. It was still in reboot mode. I probably should have given it another minute. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to download the latest production release. So if you just click on production release here, it'll take you right to the download section. We want to download the Linux version. You'll see that I'm in Chrome, it's down here on the left. If you click show all, it'll show you how quickly it'll be to get downloaded, which tells you how long you can go out and get a cup of coffee for. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. Okay guys, we're going to go ahead and download Jmri and another group of files, and we're going to configure this thing so that it comes up and runs Jmri. You'll see that Chrome comes up at the Twister OS screen. We're just going to go to jmri.org. And we're going to do 2 different downloads. We're going to download the latest version of Jmri. So if you come down here, the latest production release will always be at the top. So click on the production release and that'll give you the download links. We want to download the Linux version. You'll see it pop up down here at the bottom left here when it starts the download. Okay, since that has started, while it's going on, we're going to go back to the main screen, back 1 page, and we're going to come all the way down to the bottom of this screen. And you will see Raspberry Pi OS on Raspberry Pi. Click on that. And it'll take me just a minute to talk about it, but there is a pre-built image out there right now. You can download on your regular PC and in image to an SD card that has Jmri pre-configured on it. It also has the Wi-Fi adapter set up as a hotspot, so you don't have to give people local access to your network. What I've chosen to do, and I'll explain why in a minute, is I am configuring it this way. I will use a spare router that is not connected to the internet to run Jmri. And my Raspberry Pi will be connected via Wi-Fi to my home network so that I can do the frequent updates that are needed and do any kind of maintenance to it. Plus, I can use it as a network storage should I choose to. But if you want to download it, it's right here at the very top. We're actually going farther down, and we're going down to where it says starting Jmri. And it says set of desktop startup icons. You'll see in a minute what those are for, but we're going to click on that and download those also. And we'll go to show all. Okay, I've double clutched Jmri, so we'll get rid of one of them. Alright, so what we're going to do is, since these are both complete, we're going to click on Show in Folder, and what that'll do is launch the file manager. From here, guys, we have got to unarchive this file. This is a TGZ is an archive, and a .gz is an archive. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to double click on Jmri. That will open the archive manager. From here we're going to click on Jmri and then click on extract. Where we need to put this is in the home directory. Okay? Just click on home here on the left. We want to extract all files. We want to keep the directory structure, and we want this unclicked. The reason this should be unclicked, the do not overwrite newer files, is just get in the habit, because you're going to follow this procedure every time you update Jmri. If you have existing, roster, etc. in there, it won't be overwritten because there is no roster in the basic. So your files will be fine, but the new ones will be updated. So you're going to click extract, and you'll see it comes up with the archive manager. This takes a minute to do, so I'll pause for just a second. Okay, the next step is to unarchive the Pie Icons. I'm going to double click on it. We're going to highlight Pie Icons. We're going to extract, and we're going to extract it to home. And from there, we're going to select all files, keep directory structure, and unclick, make sure it's unclicked, do not overwrite newer files. Extract, and it should be done. Okay, so from here, we're going to go into the Pi folder and the Pi icons, and we're going to move the Decoder Pro desktop, Install Desktop, Panel Pro, or Sound Pro, whichever one you use, we're going to move to the desktop. I want to talk a minute about the Install Test desktop. The Install Test, when you run this, it will automatically go out and look at the serial port and determine what kind of configuration you have, whether it's NCE, Digitrax, DCC++, EasyDCC, or whatever is connected to your serial port, and it will automatically configure Jmri. This is really handy if you have a Raspberry Pi that you carry to shows, and and it's hooked up in a club on a different system. It'll automatically determine it for you. In my case, guys, I use Decoder Pro, so I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it on the desktop. You'll see it's down here at the bottom. I'll move it up on the top so you can see it better. If you see it here, see it shows up just as a regular file. When you move it out here, it says I'm on the desktop, I'm an executable, and I'm looking for that icon in the Jmri folder. So we can close this. We're done with that for now. And now we can double click Jmri. And the first time you do it, it's going to come up and say it's an untrusted application. That's just because it's the first time it's run and it doesn't know whether the program's good or not. Just say mark executable. It'll never ask you that again. And what you'll see here in a second is Jmri comes up, and it comes up to the startup wizard. We're not going to go through that now. That'll be another video maybe later on. But right now we'll just close that and get out of it. All right, we have one more step to make. And you come down here to the Start button, go to Settings, and come over and go down to the S's, and we're going to go down to Session and Startup. There's a lot you can do here, but this is where we're going to make it so Jmri comes on when you start the PC up. So we're going to click Add. We're going to call it Jmri. And then we're going to go find the file we want to run. So the file is in the Jmri folder in Home or Pi. If you notice, there's a one that says .jmri. It's not in there. It's in this one here that says Jmri. And if you're going to use the install test, that's the one you would use, but I used Decoder Pro. You click OK. OK once more, and close. And you're done. Now, when you reboot this PC, Jmri will come up and automatically run. The video's gone long. You're going to have to trust me, it really does work. I want to take a moment to thank you guys for watching the video, spending some time with me tonight, or today, whichever time of day it is for you. It's been a kind of a major effort to get this done, and I may have left one or two things out. I don't believe I did. I think I've been through it enough that I covered everything. So if you have any questions, reach out to me at Creaky Chair Models or Creaky Chair Models LLC on Facebook. That's spelled CREAKY. Or you can get my contact information off my website at creakychairmodels.com. Again, thanks for taking the time to watch it, and I hope you got something out of it. Jmri and the Raspberry Pi make an excellent, excellent pairing. So have a great time, guys.